Honourable Hurreeram, from my update, you have 30 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. The very fact we are here today to debate on such a pointless motion is proof that the government is on top of his game, and the opposition has officially run out of ideas on how to face this government. Je suis même tenté de dire, Monsieur le Président, que c'est un acte de désespoir d'une alliance qui se veut espoir. J'ai presque envie de le dire merci pour cette motion, parce que jusqu'ici, nous avons assisté à un lynchage en règle de l'opposition, qui me fait penser à cette expression française, le roi est nu. If it were possible, I'd have invited the Honourable Duval to bring as many motions as he wants. Bring a new one every Tuesday, and we will take them one by one, and this government will still remain united behind the Prime Minister. To be fair, Mr. Speaker, sir, while they are shouting things like nous vivons dans une dictature, here we are debating such a motion as early as possible and showing why this country has and will always remain an example of democracy around the world. At least when the MSM is in government, or otherwise, this very National Assembly would have been shut down for 9 months. My good friend Reza will surely remember this episode of 2014, when this temple of democracy was locked pour assouvir les désirs de pouvoir de certains. Mr. Speaker, sir, oh yes, Mr. Speaker, sir, I believe every setback is an opportunity. So this motion gives members of this side of the House the opportunity to show why this government, despite COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine, is overcoming difficulties and making this country a better place to live. What this government has achieved so far, halfway through its mandate, is more than the Labour Party or PMSD during any mandate put together has ever managed. This country is facing the worst effect of climate change, and I'm puzzled to hear my good friend Reza talking about climate change. Countries like Denmark, Holland, Australia, they have the state-of-art drains, and they are not being able to face the effect of climate change. And here, this government is doing whatever is possible. And maybe I should highlight that this government, since last budget, has earmarked 11.7 billion rupees, despite the difficult situation, so as we can save life of our fellow citizens. But it is this type of argument that mislead the public out there. This country, Mr. Speaker, sir, is doing all that is possible. The volume of rain previously registered in 1 year is now observed in 1 single day. And yet, this government stood up to the challenge with a national flood management program, which has considerably improved water drainage in various regions across the country. But of course, there's much more to do, and we are doing it. And we have been maintaining the infrastructural development at its vitesse de croisière while ensuring that the less fortunate, the most vulnerable, can make a living, and if not, can live decently. Let me, Mr. Speaker, sir, enlighten this House and the public at large on a few achievements of this government in terms of public infrastructure. And I hope it find its way into our free and so-called independent press. As at April 2022, we have now officially completed 191 drain projects across the whole island. Another 189 projects are currently at construction stage, and 155 projects are at tender stage. In total, 70% of our drain projects have reached various stages of implementation, and from the design phase, tendering exercise, construction, and completion stage. With regard to our road projects, you will note that the Phoenix Junction with Jumbo, Pont Fair, and Dowlat flyover are now fully operational as promised and have had an immediate impact on the traffic flow during peak hours. Soon, the flyover at Palmerston will be operational, and the traffic from Vakwa to Port Louis will be rendered even more fluid. We have successfully implemented the A1 A3 road to connect Gros Caillou to Coromandel, and reconstructed bridges like Monsoisy Bridge at Poste de Flac, the Saint-Denis Bridge in Samarel, the Atli Bridge at Résidence Atli, and more recently, the Tatamaka Bridge at La Caverne, to name a few. Speaking of bridges, the construction of the A1 M1 Bridge at Grande Rivière Nord-Ouest, the first of its kind in the Indian Ocean, will connect Coromandel to M1 at Sorèze, is progressing nicely. Works on the new link road that will connect La Vigie to La Brasserie have reached an advanced stage and will thereafter extend to Bossons and eventually to Ficanflac. The vision of this government through the road decongestion program was to reduce traffic considerably. And one of the measures implemented is the elimination of our roundabouts. After Phoenix, works will soon be visible at Wotton, Kédé, and Terre Rouge roundabout to free once for all the most congested areas along M1 and M2. And we are not neglecting the heavily congested axis from Quartier Militaire to Moka. The Verdun bypass project is already well underway. Works also will start shortly to construct our fourth motorway, the M4, that will connect the north to Bel Air and eventually to the airport. And we have started a consultancy exercise to explore the possibility of constructing a fifth motorway to connect the southern region of the country. All these projects that I have mentioned, Mr. Speaker, sir, have been made possible despite 2 lockdowns and the severe impact of the war in Ukraine on our economy, which some members of the opposition seem to ignore. As promised, the Prime Minister last Sunday inaugurated Metro Express that has now reached Phoenix and will soon reach Cupip. This is a government which believes that action speaks louder than words, Mr. Speaker, sir. Halfway our mandate, we have a bilan, already an impressive one. The ongoing development in our country is unprecedented, and there is only one person who deserves all the credit, despite some may come and shout on all the roof that it's their doing, their thinking, their dream because they sleep a lot, but it's only Pravin Kumar Jagnnath. Now, just imagine, we had no COVID. There was no war in Ukraine. Where our country would have been right now. And that too, I have mentioned only major achievement at the level of my ministry. We have several other small projects, more localized, that have been delivered and improve the daily lives of our citizens. All this has been achieved by this government without overlooking the well-being of the most vulnerable, Mr. Speaker, sir. When the rate of unemployment was soaring around the world during the COVID-19 pandemic, this government has gone to great length in order to ensure that a maximum of jobs were preserved. We ensured the salaries of hundreds of thousands of employees through various schemes, including the wage assistance scheme. C'est un gouvernement qui dirige avec le cœur. At the same time, we contained a deadly virus, and thanks to our prompt reaction through measures such as restriction of movement and vaccination campaign, we have saved a considerable amount of Mauritian lives. And all this while keeping an economic crisis at bay. Mr. Speaker, sir, the attack, the personal attack that our honorable friend, Dr. Jagutpal, that they make on him at every sitting, I only want to say one thing. There is this proverb in Creole that says, pied qui rapporte, qui gagne kout. And we should thank the Prime Minister to have given us, to have given this country one of the best Minister of Health that this country could have had during this pandemic. Some may laugh. Mr. Siabadon can laugh as much as he wants. Mais il n'arrivera jamais à la cheville de l'honorable Jagutpal. That's all they can do. Laugh around, mockery of people, insult, talk about, all sorts of things. But that's all. And people out there is watching. It is completely untrue, however, to suggest that we are only injecting billions in the construction sector while doing nothing for the poor. This is a government which has gone the extra mile in our fight against extreme poverty, Mr. Speaker, sir. No other regime has injected more money or introduced more measures to support the needy. Let us for one moment, Mr. Speaker, sir, just imagine how we would have dealt with the COVID-19 crisis and the war in Ukraine if we had Mauritian citizens still earning 1,500 rupees as monthly salary. If our senior citizens were still earning a pension of 3,600 rupees. The leader of the opposition here is constantly criticizing this government for not doing enough for our senior citizens. In his budget of 2012, when prices were soaring, he gave them an increase of only 144 rupees on their old age pension. Mais même pas que Dile pas gagné là-dedans. Forget the issue of Honorable Sikian. He was even more proud when he announced that with the salary compensation proposed by the then government, a worker who was earning 3,000 rupees would, after his budget, earn 3,360. And the same person now comes with a motion of no confidence in this House to criticize the government, which made it legal for any worker to earn a minimum monthly salary of 11,075 rupees monthly. The same government which tripled the old age pension in 4 years. The same government who has given free tertiary education, and now so many of our youth from poor families who would have otherwise entered the job market with only an SC and an HSC can now aspire to obtain a degree. Do you realize the impact of these measures have had on the Mauritian household? One has to wonder if the leader of the opposition is in his right mind. When the country was in dire strait, during his reign as Minister of Finance, he will be forever remembered as the guy who raised the price of SMS and removed taxes on cosmetic products. I'm sure that the mother and father who were then earning a mere 1,000 rupees monthly salary and had to feed their family with that still remember. I dare not mention the comments of Honorable Béranger on that same budget presented by Xavier Duval. The usual, disait confetti, disait fusette, coup d'épée dans l'eau. Et aujourd'hui, c'est le grand amour. Les militants et les dieux ne savent plus à quel saint se vouer. Comme on dirait en créole, pas connaît qu'on parle cachette. Honorable Bhagwan even claimed that this motion of no confidence has already been voted by the population. Coltant saut, comme il a avancé lui-même. Then, Mr. Speaker, what is the Coltant preventing MMM from winning an election since 2000? 22 years now. I hope he realizes that the MMM is constantly losing ground in their so-called bastion. One would be tempted to draw a parallel with what happened to the PMSD over the years. Quelle ironie. Les militants n'en ont plus qu'assez de leurs fausses promesses. L'un avait promis qu'il boirait du lisol si le MMM refaisait une alliance avec Navin Ramgoolam. Le voilà de nouveau en train de négocier une alliance avec ce même Ramgoolam, mais jusqu'à aujourd'hui, il n'a pas bu un seul gosé de lisol. La vérité, Monsieur le Président, c'est que les militants se sont rangés derrière ce gouvernement et ses alliés, tels que l'honorable Stevano Vigadou, l'honorable Alan Ganou, l'honorable Ivan Kolandavelu, l'honorable mon ami Kaviramano, et préfèrent des mesures concrètes que des paroles en l'air. I even heard some on the other side of the House suggest we stop our major infrastructural projects. But don't you realize why we are doing these projects? Let me take, for example, our drain infrastructure. And I'll refer again to what Honorable Reza Outim said earlier. Est-ce que vous auriez préféré laisser mourir les Mauriciens se noyer dans leur maison? Pourtant, vous êtes au courant, comme moi, de ce qui se passe dans le monde entier avec le changement climatique. Des trompes d'eau qui frappent soudainement et emportent tout sur les passages. Ben, on s'en est habitué maintenant. La pluie tombée, Pravin Jagnat. La guerre Ukraine, Pravin Jagnat. Covid fini, Pravin Jagnat. Je préfère m'arrêter là. Nous avons désormais une liste des endroits où ce genre d'événement peut se produire. Est-ce que je dois dire à ces Mauriciens qui habitent dans ces régions que nous allons abandonner les projets qui peuvent sauver leur vie? Et nous, Monsieur le Président, notre Premier ministre, quand il y a eu des inondations, il n'était pas sous-cassé sous un lit. Il avait les bottes dans les pieds et sur le terrain. Est-ce que cette opposition-là veut dire que leur vie n'a aucune importance? Ou comme ce ministre travailliste avait déclaré une fois, un seul enfant mot. La honte, Monsieur le Président. Il en va de même pour nos projets routiers, Monsieur le Président. Each and every Mauritian should be guaranteed connectivity, irrespective of where they come from and where they wish to travel to, and most importantly, to reach their destination safely in a timely manner. This is called planning on the long run. Elimination of roundabouts, the decongestion of strategic points, building new roads where there were no connection before. Mes amis de quartier militaire, Flac, l'Almaty, Piton, They deserve a motorway too. Why now? Of course. Building during two consecutive mandates, and what did the Labour government do for the road users? Nothing. Well, they built as a road which crumbled down before its inauguration. And another one which ended right into a mountain. Yes, these are difficult times. But whenever we face a crisis, does not necessarily mean we have to put our economy on hold. Et je suis surpris d'entendre mon ami Reza, mon bon ami Reza. The construction sector employs 60,000 people directly. And we have to take into account the considerable amount of people who benefit from this sector indirectly. This should easily bring the amount of people that benefit from construction to more than 100 Mauritian citizens, which would mean maybe 100,000 families. So the leader of the opposition believes that we should stop all this supply chain and just go out in the street and hand over money to people. And he was one minister of finance and an accountant on top of that. By investing in our infrastructure, improving existing infrastructure, and building new ones, we are creating wealth. Obviously, you will not reap the benefits neither today or tomorrow. This is called investing in the long term. Betamax was surely not an investment on the long term, Honorable Leader of the Opposition. Neither was the super cashback gold scam, nor the Mauritius hedging. Vous êtes très mal placé pour venir nous faire la leçon sur le gaspillage. And have you ever been to visit the Côte d'Or complex yet? Oh, the Victoria Urban Terminal. Des bijoux, Monsieur le Président. For generations to come, our children and their children will pay tribute to the vision of this government and the Prime Minister for laying the foundation of the modern Mauritius. And this Prime Minister will be remembered as le père de l'île Maurice moderne. Mr. Speaker, sir, this opposition has been all over the place since the last general election. They cannot mobilize their own troops. They cannot find an agreement among themselves. They cannot even decide who will be the leader of the opposition. In truth, this motion of no confidence should have been against this opposition, Mr. Speaker, sir. Their attempt to disrupt the proceeding of this House has backfired and exposed their several shortcomings since 2 years. They are shouting election coquin. They have even resorted to file cases in court. Et de cours de justice en cours en justice, ils prennent des claques magistrales, Monsieur le Président, et le dernier, c'était à Kyopi. Look at them, un véritable cagné crap. Bois des Roses, Britam, Hedging, Betamax, Trafic Zone, l'Université Marron, Kofo, l'Ampoule, Macaroni. And if I miss anything, maybe Honorable Béranger will fill in the blank. To conclude, I wish to assure the population at large. Yes, we are aware of the current predicament. What people need to realize is that it does not please anybody on this side of the House the way prices are going up every week. However, rest assured that you have the best possible team at the helm of our country. The only government with able members and at its head a visionary Prime Minister who can turn around the situation for the greater good. This motion of no confidence shows clearly that we have on this side of the House, we've got our priorities right. Our priority is the well-being of the Mauritian population and the progress of our country at national and international level. Each and every of us need to play his or her role in this economic resurgence. Whatever might be your political allegiance, answer to this patriotic call. We all have to rally behind this Prime Minister to make Mauritius a better place to live. Your country needs you than ever more. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.